Namaste, Pranam. Meditation on the Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, content in the 18 chapters, and showerer of the nectar like knowledge of non-dualism. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Now, Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devakim Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. The son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. And today we take up the reading of 68th Shloka of the Sankhya Yoga, the second adhyay of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna is now telling Arjuna, how shall these senses be handled? Because in the previous verses, in the previous shloka, Sri Krishna has told Arjuna the positive aspects of controlling the senses, of how a person can become steady in wisdom when the senses are controlled. And he has also cautioned that if the senses are allowed to have their sway, if these are not restrained, if the senses are not restrained, if the longing for enjoying the sense objects is not restrained, then what happens? That also he has told. So now in this 68th shloka, that Sri Krishna is telling, how shall these senses be handled? So Sri Krishna says, tasmād yasya mahā-bāho nigṛihītāni sarvaśhaḥ indriyāṇīndriyārthebhyas tasya prajñā pratiṣhṭhitā. Again Sri Krishna is telling, based on the nature of handling these senses, how these senses are handled, that a man can be called as a person with steady wisdom. Tasya prajñā pratiṣhṭhitā. That person's wisdom, that person's intellect is considered to be well established, well set firm. It is set steady. The person with the steady intellect, with the steady wisdom. Tasmād yasya mahā-bāho. Mahā-bāho, Krishna is addressing Arjuna, the mighty armed, the great warrior. Tasmād, therefore, yasya nigṛihītāni sarvaśhaḥ indriyāṇi. Therefore, the one whose indriyāṇi, sarvaśhaḥ is completely, nigṛihītāni is restrained, controlled. Controlled what? Completely under control. What is that thing? Indriyāṇi, the senses. And why the senses? Indriyāṛthebhyas. In order to enjoy the sense objects, one who has controlled all his senses, one who has put all the senses under restraint, complete mastery over the senses, from enjoying the sense objects. Indriyāṛthebhyas tasya prajñā pratiṣhṭhitā. That person's intellect can be termed as well-balanced, equipoised, steady, firm. Therefore, O mighty arm, his knowledge, his cognition is well poised, well established, is highly steady, whose senses are completely restrained from their sense objects. That is the sure short formula Sri Krishna is giving us. Just cut off the swaying of your senses towards the sense objects. The very purpose of being blessed with senses is defeated if they are not allowed to contact the objects. That is true. You see, if the Prakriti, the nature, the Mahamaya, the Prakriti has given us all these five senses. And Prakriti has also, to lure these senses, has created the respective sense objects. Now, if these senses don't come in contact with the sense objects, is it not that the utility of the senses is totally gone? The senses are made totally useless? Theoretically speaking, yes. Because the senses have the respective sense objects which are to be enjoyed as per the law of Prakriti. That they should be rendered defunct is not the teaching of the Lord. Lord is not saying no. You don't, nullify. You don't defunct the utility of your senses. Lord is not saying that. Krishna is not meaning that you get rid of the functionality of your senses. You become blind, you become deaf, you become dumb. No. Or you lose the touch of sense. Krishna is not telling that. The deciding factor between good and evil is the attitude with which the senses are directed to the sense objects. So, the attitude by which we bring this communion of senses with the sense objects, the attitude determines whether it is going to produce good or evil. Perceiving them with covetousness is sin. Perceiving them with a lustful angle, with the lustful thought, with the thoughts of greed, with the thoughts of pleasure is sin. While viewing them as objects of adoration is virtue. A beautiful flower is there on the plant and your eyes happen to see that flower. Seeing that beautiful flower, how happy you become. That is pure, unselfish way of enjoying that pleasure of seeing that beautiful flower. You enjoy, let others also enjoy. But if seeing that, oh, that flower I should have, you pluck the flower, remove it from the plant and make it your own possession. You see the difference in the attitude? So, gluttony and slavery to the tongue is sin. And just keep on hogging the food, keep on eating. That is, that is what we normally we use our tongue for. Eating is one of the functions of this tongue. Now, eating to keep the body fit is a noble purpose. The same tongue we used for two different things. Even the tongue is used for talking vulgar things, talking nonsensical things, talking rubbish, talking the gossiping, rumor mongering. There also tongue is used. Now see the way tongue is used for all these kind of activities and use of this tongue for chanting the name of the Lord, chanting the name of the Mother, singing praises, singing glories of the Lord. How different these two actions become. It is the same tongue. Maybe some of the words that are being used in abusing somebody and in singing the glory of the Mother are also same. But how different these attitudes are, how different their outcome is. For example, the sense of touch. The same sense of touch, we can use it for satisfying some of the sensual desires, and that doesn't lead to any pleasures in the end. A momentary maybe, but in the long run, then you start, oh, why I did this. But with the same touch, if you touch an idol, if you touch the feet of a holy person, if you touch the feet of your guru, then you get that different pleasure, you get that different bliss through that sense of touch. Sense is same. The sense of touch is same. But what a remarkably opposite outcome that sense of touch gives. Touching somebody with lustful intention, touching the holy feet, touching the feet of the beloved Mother. It is a tremendous difference. So Sri Krishna doesn't say that you just remove the functionality of your senses. Sri Krishna doesn't say that. He says just restrain the senses. Have control on the senses. The attitude with which you are using the senses, make it divine. Beholding the body of a person with a lustful eye is sin, but viewing the same body as a temple of God. Once a person, a spiritual aspirant, get this knowledge of seeing God in everyone, that's it. There won't be any lustful thoughts for any physical bodies. Because for that person, these physical bodies cease to exist. These physical bodies no more are human bodies. They are the temples of the Divine Lord, of the Divine Mother. All the five senses can be sublimated and sense objects sanctified in such a way that the divinity alone is contacted in and through all of them. Like we saw the examples of different senses, how the same sense can be used in a negative way, in a sensual way, and the same sense can be used for satisfying our divine hunger, for satisfying our divine thirst. So that is how Sri Krishna tells us. Now, Sri Ramakrishna perfected this sense of sight so well that all women folk, including the street walker, were to him veritable embodiments of the Divine Mother. There have been instances where the so-called fallen woman, fallen in the eyes of this society, but Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sarada, our Ma, they gave them shelter. For them, nobody was a pious or a sinner. For them, each and every person for that matter is a form, manifestation of Divine Mother, manifestation of the Lord. And in case of Sri Ramakrishna, all the female forms, he used to see Divine Mother in them. For him, all the female forms were manifestation of the Divine Mother. Sublimation of the senses was at its zenith in him. Mastery over the senses in this manner makes one competent to gain intuitive knowledge of the imperishable. And once you have this kind of attitude of using your senses only for the divine cause, then automatically you gain that intuitive knowledge of the imperishable, the indestructible, the indivisible Atman. And once that happens, tasya prajñā pratiṣhṭhitā. Once that happens, Sri Krishna says that person is known as, can be termed as, the person with the steady wisdom. Now, this knowledge once obtained persists forever. This is not a temporary knowledge. The knowledge of understanding the imperishable, indivisible, the permanent entity, the permanent reality, it is not temporary. It is the absolute knowledge. It is that element of Satchitananda, the existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. It is this knowledge is part of that Satchitananda. Now, let us see what Sri Ramakrishna says on this particular advice of Sri Krishna. Sri Ramakrishna's words: blinkers have to be used in order to break a horse to the rein. Otherwise, it will not be tamed unless and until we put those blinkers. Unless and until the horse's eyes keep on blinking and looking sideways, this side, that side, he won't be able to tame. We won't be able to tame that horse and put the rein. So, first they put the blinkers. Vulgar desires have to be done away with in order to obtain the divine. In order to get into that stage of pratiṣhṭhitā prajñā, the vulgar, the lustful thoughts, desires, they have to be totally cut off. They have to be eliminated. They have to be totally compromised. Purity of mind, complete sense control, desirelessness, these divine qualities make one competent to gain Godhood. So Sri Ramakrishna has also shown us the way. Like Sri Krishna has told here that nigṛihītāni sarvaśhaḥ indriyāṇī, by controlling all the senses from indriyāṇīndriyārthebhyas, from enjoying those sense objects, you just restrain all the senses from enjoyment point of view. Rather, put them to use to see the divine in all the sense objects. And in the same manner, Sri Ramakrishna tells us purity of mind, complete sense control, and desirelessness. These divine qualities make one competent to gain Godhood. And once you have these qualities, these divine qualities, you are sthita prajñā, you are sthitadi, you get into that mode of getting ecstasy, getting the samadhi, samadhistha, getting into that meditative, contemplative mode. So that is the 68th shloka of the Sankhya Yoga. Let us stop our reading here today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swami.